Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Paul. Today we're taking a look at the Loop Gear SK05 Pro. First of all, thank you to Loop Gear for sending this along. They provided the review sample for consideration. However, they did not provide any financial compensation, nor do they have any input on the final opinion or output of this video. They just provided the light, and I've done my best to try and separate that free purchase essentially from my final thoughts. I've had this guy for about 2 weeks, using it both in just general day-to-day stuff as well as some other testing, and this will just be my thoughts on everything I think about the flashlight. So first of all, let's go ahead and get into a size comparison. This is a little larger than the lights we typically cover, so 91mm on top and 58mm down below. More flashlight relevant, we have AA and AAA. And I know you're here for that hashtag girth comparison. And something more relevant, as this is an 18650 base flashlight. There you go, and now a bit of an overview of the design itself. So on the side, this is actually a side light panel. Up front we have two different sets of emitters. Here we have a floody array where we have 3 shallow tier style optics, and then a more throwy, deep, smooth reflector. Our controls are going to be entirely on this combination dial and button. So we have a center button here, and then we have a dial to handle the different emitters. For charging, we have a USB-C protected by a little flappy. The clip is deep carry in style, and in the pocket almost entirely submerges the flashlight down. Just a quick note that when you get the flashlight, the clip is included, but it is not attached to the flashlight, but we'll go over that in a little bit. We have some nice general finger, I'm going to say grooves. It's a bit spread out to be jimping, but it does provide a little bit of grip for when you're using the button. On the bottom we have a little bit of a soft touch material, as well as the aluminium, which is quite nice. And we also have a magnetic tail. I will say that this is a decently long and heavy light, so we'll cover how well the magnetic tail works. And then we have a kind of like, this entire thing will flip out, and it's designed to be quick replacement for the batteries. So here we have a safety, effectively. So we flip that down, push the button, and it gives us access to our 2 included 18650s, which are 4000 milliamp hour. The idea behind this is for quick battery changes, and I do recommend you have that locked just to avoid accidentally losing your batteries. Now let's go ahead and jump into, first of all, what comes in the box, and we'll tackle that clip. So when you get the box, you'll get the user manual, as you should expect, and then you also get a little accessory packet, so to speak. So you get a USB-C to C cable that is of pretty decent quality, branded, and then you also get the clip, what appears to be a spare set of screws, and a little Torx driver for you to affix the clip yourself if you want to. It does come without the clip, in more of a pocket drop style, and there is a lanyard hole should you wish to use a lanyard instead. But as you get it out the box, it will be clipless, and it'll be very much just dropping it into a pocket unless you take the time, which took less than a minute to just affix the 2 screws. Now let's go ahead and jump into the brightness and runtimes. As always, feel free to pause if you would rather read. Up here we have spotlight, and then floodlight, and then the side lights. So the spotlight is going to be 40 lumens on low for 96 hours, 220 lumens on medium for 19 hours. On high, it's going to initially be 600 lumens for 5.5 hours before stepping down to 40 lumens for 30 minutes. And on turbo, it is going to be 1300 lumens for 40 seconds before it steps down to 600 for a further 5 hours, before stepping down to 40 lumens for the last 30 minutes. The floodlight on low is 50 lumens for 95 hours, 350 on medium for 20. On high, it's 950 lumens for 6 hours before stepping down to 50 for 30 minutes. And on turbo, you get 3060 lumens, stepping down to 950 after 40 seconds for 5.5 hours before a final 50 lumen 30-minute run. The side light in general is going to be greater than 20 days. Brightness wise, not that bright. Probably on the highest setting it's going to be less than 20 lumens. It's still usable, but it's by far not the brightest of things. Now let's go ahead into the UI. So this is using a dial lock system. So in this position you are locked, you're not going to get anything, not even any warning lights. And then any time that you rotate out of this, you're going to get effectively a battery check. So that is how currently charged it is. You can see it's not quite all the way. And then as you plug this in to charge, you'll actually get these side LEDs going up. And this does also have a power bank function. So when it is actually discharging and charging something else, you then get a different animation to show that it is charging something. So this is also kind of an information panel as well as a side light. So on the dial itself, we have locked, and then the first position is going to be your flood, second position is going to be your spot, and the final position is going to be your side lights. Fairly straightforward from off. If you press and hold, you're not going to get moonlight mode. Instead, what you're going to get is turbo on both emitters. So you see how bright that is. I can actually feel the heat very clearly on my hand from about a foot away right now. It's very intense. Just press to click on, and then press and hold to cycle through your brightnesses. You can double click to go into turbo, and that will just bring on the turbo for the mode that you are in. If you want both, it needs to be off and then press to hold to get the double turbo. Same UI for the thrower, for the spotlight. Press and hold, you're going to shift through. There are nighttime beam shots of using this light. There will be a short included up here. Now, where things get a little funkier is when you come to the side light. So if you press and hold, you're going to get the different brightnesses. So this is very, very, very low. At this brightness, I would say you're not really lighting anything else up as much as you are just indicating where the flashlight is. It's that dim. Then on medium, you're starting to get a usable kind of amount. And on the highest brightness, which is still going to run for a very, very, very long time, you can then actually start to use this to read for some up-close applications, a night light, that kind of thing. Now, when you're in this mode, there is also, as you know from the, turn that down a little bit, from the charging animation, all that there is RGBs in here. So for that, you're going to double click to go into RGB mode. There is a fixed brightness for this, I think. And then as you press and hold, you're just going to try and maybe shift through the different kinds. And then if you double press again, you're going to get a different animation. This is more of a breathing animation. And again, you can press and hold to change what color you have for this. And basically, if you just double press, you get all kinds of different effects. Here's your police mode. I believe there is actually a fast toggle. I think it's a triple click or something to get into police mode. I've mentioned before on the channel, police mode is not something I'm particularly fond of. It's there if you want it. Here's your fancy rainbow. This is quite nice. It's just like a decorative thing. And finally, back around to the side lights. Now, onto the pros, my general feelings and what I like about the SK05 Pro. The first one is a little bit of a weird one because this is objectively heavy to some degree, right? There are two 18650s in here. This is an aluminium body, a whole bunch of emitters. This is heavy in some measurable way. And you're going to say, put it on a scale. That's not really going to convey what I'm talking about, though. This doesn't feel heavy to me for what it is and for everything in it. It's very, it's dense. There's definitely a heft to it, but it's not pulling my pants down in a way that multi-cell lights from other manufacturers have previously. And I'm trying to decide, like, this is a good thing. This feels surprisingly light for how much you get in this. But I'm just trying to decide how much of that is the engineering from Loop Gear, and this is a very well-engineered product, and how much is just weight creep. So, 21700 lights have become increasingly more common, and in a lot of ways, they've kind of become what 18650s were like a decade ago, right? So I'm just kind of wondering if that's just a personal perception thing of mine, that I've grown used to the weight of a 21700 light. And so when you get this hefty beast, I'm like, I expected this to be heavier. Either way, I like it. You get a lot for that weight, and it doesn't feel that heavy. Like in the hand, I don't feel like I'm going to get fatigued, and I haven't. In the pocket, it's particularly when clipped in something like sweatpants, it's been no issue. It's not pulling my pants down. It's not been uncomfortable. The weight's really manageable and really good. On the good side as well, this pocket clip is very nice, deep carry, and the lanyard hole is very well designed. It's not obtrusive. It's very well placed. Overall, a good here is the aesthetics. This is very cyberpunk, very stylish. They know what their desired aesthetic is, and they lean heavily into it, and I like it. It looks like a premium light that came from several decades into the future. You could pass this off as a prop in a sci-fi film. And on that, I also really like the amount of features you get, whilst they all still feel, for the most part, useful. Having a flood emitter, great. Having a throwing emitter, great. And the thrower does do good work. Testing it outside, it throws reasonably well compared to a dedicated throwing flashlight, which obviously is going to have more overall reflector space. So it performs very well. The side lights are usable. I would prefer a better UI on the side light, but we'll come to that. This can be used as a power bank, and normally I'm of the mind where it's great to have additional features, and having the option of using something as a power bank in a world where not having a charged phone can mean not getting home because you can't access your public trans ticket or call for a lift or whatever. That can be a big thing, but for a lot of lights that incorporate power bank functions, I get a very strong sense of, but why would I use it when it's so heavily compromising the battery of the flashlight, right? But at 8,000 milliamp hours across the two cells, this has a large enough battery capacity that you could meaningfully top up or charge your phone and still have a good amount of energy left to use it as a flashlight before you have to recharge it. I think this is a very good compromise where you can use it meaningfully as a power bank, and it doesn't feel like you're cutting into your EDC to do so. Combine that with the quick battery change, and you can actually run this off of a single battery. You don't have to run it off both batteries. If you only have one charged 18650 left and you've drained them, just pop one in, have the other two on charge externally. That works just fine. So all that's great. This is a very well-built, well-designed overall light that I have really enjoyed and had my time with. However, there are a few things that are a bit of a letdown for the overall premium thing. Now, this light is £135, $130, somewhere in that ballpark. Prices change a little bit depending on retailer. There will be a coupon code down below. So when you're at that price point, for most normal people, that is going to be on the more expensive end for a flashlight. I know that you can get a lot crazier with flashlights, particularly with small batch manufacturers and exotic materials, but generally speaking, for a production model, this is up there, especially since it is on the EDC smaller end. And when you get to that price point, you then face additional scrutiny, so smaller things become less okay, if that makes sense. So that is all leading up to the fact of the pocket clip. It's not attached when it comes, that's fine, I don't mind that, that's a personal preference, and you end up with a driver, great. Love that they included that in the screws, great. But what does detract from the pocket clip a little bit is that the pocket clip screws themselves aren't countersunk. You can actually see that there. Yeah, you can see that. See how raised up there? Now, in terms of practically speaking, this does not hinder the function that much. It is going to put a little bit of extra unnecessary wear and tear on a pocket, and a clip does that enough on its own over time. So that's not great. It does provide a little bit of snagging, but nothing that's been a deal breaker. So the main thing over that, besides the function portion of it to me, is this is a premium light. It looks like a premium light, and then you have a cut corner that really stands out. I think it's partially because the screws are a different anode color than the clip itself, and maybe it's just because I know to look at it, but it's very obvious to me when I look at this that they're not countersunk, and that is a very real reason why I'm going to take the clip off when I keep using this, because it is a little bit of it's an ick. To use that word that I'm not fond of, it is a little bit of an ick. It's a little thing that is an extra machining step and would probably be a notable cost, but at this price point, they should really be countersunk. Something else I noticed, this is potentially a good thing, but it's not. The flappy is actually held on by an external bolt, which, looking closely, might be a security bolt. I'm not entirely sure why it would be, but it might be. Now, this could be an opportunity to include spare little USB-C flappies in the box, because these suck. I literally just ripped off 2 of them from a flashlight I've had for like a decade because they've perished to the point where I couldn't open them. They will rip off, they will perish over time, because that's what rubber does. This is a necessary evil in the flashlight world, but ideally they would be replaceable, and this design lets it be user replaceable. So just include like an extra 2 of them in the box. For the price, that would go a long way to making it feel like a more thoughtful premium experience. And as you can tell, mostly just nitpicks about this light. I really like this light. Finally, the last thing I would really want to see done differently is I want another setting on this dial. So lock, flood, throw, side light. This isn't really good enough for the side light. So you're cramming all of the side light functions into a single button press, and that makes the UI for the side light very convoluted and long, right? Like, if you've been, there's not a way I've seen in the manual or playing about with it to quickly get back to the white light. So if you've been playing around with all the RGB stuff, let's say you're, there you go. Let's say you've been playing with this, you've been using it as a mood light, you've been entertaining a child or a cat or whatever, and then you want to use it as a reading light, so you flip it over, come back in, you're on rainbow mode, and you have to go through again to go back to the beginning. And you can be deep, you can be in the middle of that UI and then have to keep. So what other lights do, say like the Sofirn IF24, which also has a dial, that has one for white light side light and one for RGB side light, and it makes the UI just a lot more streamlined because you're splitting it between. So I would like to see the UI just expand to have a dedicated RGB notch on the dial. I would like the countersunk screws to be a thing, I would like them to be countersunk, and I'd like some spare flappies. But overall, that's my only real complaints. It's an expensive light, but it's a lot of light and a lot of battery for what you're paying. I think the price is fair, and I think that if this light is appealing to you both in aesthetic and function, you'll probably be very happy with it. I know I've enjoyed it a lot. This is definitely one of the standout pieces in my, at this point, very expansive collection. And it is showing signs that I don't know which came first. I don't know if Woobin has a standing connection to Loop Gear. But you know, this battery door thing, I have 2 lights that do it now, and you know, it never gets old, right? It's fun, it's useful. Quick replacement batteries are great. I like this light. If you have the budget for it, if you're looking for a gift for somebody that likes that cyberpunk 2077 aesthetic, that techwear aesthetic, go for it. And if you're going to go for it, why not use that affiliate link down below? You'll get it for a little bit cheaper and you'll help support the channel. Whilst you're down there, can you please let me know what you think of this light, if you'd like to see any of the Loop Gear products on the channel, and go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. It does greatly help the channel out, and I do appreciate each and every one of you for watching. This video has been longer than I thought because this is a bit of a beast, and I've had a little bit of a ramble. But this has been the SK05 Pro. I've been Paul, and I'll see you in 2077.